Hi everyone, I'm Emma from ePilates Online. Thanks for joining me. Today I'll be talking about 5 tips to improve your squat technique. And you can feel free to ask me any questions while I'm live today. Please leave a comment in the comment box when you do come on board live and say hi. I'd love to know who's here and watching. The reason I wanted to talk about squatting technique today is because I often see it in my clients where they're using bad posture or bad form while they're doing squats. And the thing is, you can think you're doing good for your body by exercising and doing squats, but if you're doing it in incorrect form, then you're just basically exacerbating perhaps bad postural habits that you normally already have in your everyday life. So, and often people use squatting to improve glute function, but actually sometimes it doesn't work unless you are in good form while you're doing the squats. Sometimes the glutes aren't even active or responding or engaging. So I'll give you a couple of tips today and explain the reasons why you need the good posture, and also show you some faulty posture habits that you can fix. So I'll give you a few tips today. So I'll do it standing. So to begin, hopefully you can see me okay. We're going to start with the toes pointing directly forward, and I'll give you a little tip about this. So we always start working from the feet up. So your ideal alignment should be second toe and kneecap in the same line. Now, if we're standing feet pointing forward, that means the kneecap will point directly over the second toe. If you turn your legs out, opening them to the sides and the toes pointing out, your kneecap also has to follow if you're squatting wide. So making sure wherever your second toe goes, your kneecap can go, because if you don't follow with your knee, the knee's jeopardized between the ankle and the hip. So if you can't follow with the knee, you need to bring your toes in more. The other thing is when we're working from the ground up, we want to think about where the weight is in our feet. So often I see my clients will just bend the knees straight down when they're first doing their squats if they're not used to it before, and they'll squat like this, knees forward, not so much weight backwards. So when you're doing your squats, think about a little bit more weight going back, kind of like you're sitting in a chair, rather than just knees straight forward. There's nothing wrong with that, that's okay. It's just you're going to get a little better work through the glutes if you send your hips back more. And it's a bit of a misconception that we don't want the knees going over the toes. That's a cue that a lot of people have used for a long time. It's okay if they go over the toes a little, because that's what happens in your everyday natural life sometimes. It's just going to give you a little bit more comfort if you send your hips back and a little bit more weight in the heels. So the old cue of knees in line with the heels doesn't actually have to be exactly at that. It can be knees slightly forward, that's fine, because if you go into a deep full squat, your knees actually have to go forward a little towards the toes. Just mostly think about weight back will help you. Now the big one that I see happening mostly is that the lower back rounds. So ideally we want to keep a good neutral spine. So that means the natural curves of your spine. You have a little gap for a lot of us in the lower back, and then we kind of round a little bit more in the upper back. So, and that's different for all of us. We all have a different spine shape, but what the aim is when you're in your squat, you're not rounding, tucking your bottom under. So if you can think about your tailbone kind of reaching up to keep that natural arch, whatever your natural arch is. And then what usually happens is, if people are rounding in the lower back, the upper back starts to then round as well. So it's like a continuing pattern that happens. So if you round the lower back, the upper back rounds. As soon as you lengthen out your lower back, the upper back will start to also engage and open up. We want to make sure we're not bringing the chest down too low, because this will help create that round back feeling. Okay, so we want to keep the chest up, and what we do is we fold at the hips. Okay, so really from head to tail doesn't change when you're standing, it just moves slightly forward on an angle. The other thing that happens I see as well, if you've come on live, please say hi, I'd love to know who's with me. Make sure when you're not rounding, then the shoulders are not rounding. So it's a ripple effect. If we do not keep the neutral, we can't keep the shoulders open. So notice, are you rounding your shoulders as well? Keep the chest open. So the tendency is when you're tucking, like we were just talking about before, if you're tucking doing your squat, I'm exaggerating a lot now, then the glutes won't be active. They don't fire as well in this position. You're going to feel a lot more of your quads. So if you lengthen out your tail, so you're more in a neutral, you'll feel the glutes firing more. So this is a big one. Hi David. Christine Roberts, I'm not sure who that is, so got two names there. Now, the goal for you is to keep that neutral. So as we were talking about, you do start to activate the glute muscles. And if you are using squats for strengthening glutes, this is really important and a huge, plays a huge role in actually getting them to work. So if you are here and you have any questions, let me know. Love to hear from you. Sene, been doing 100 squats a day challenge, so it's nice to see how to get it right. Oh, good. I'm glad. Yeah, as I said at the beginning, if you weren't there then, it's important you have the right posture. Otherwise, all you're doing is exacerbating your posture that obviously maybe not as ideal. Because if you're holding good posture when you're doing the squats, then you're also working your core. If you're working, as I suggested then, your back muscles are working, your glutes and your tummy muscles are working without you even realizing it, because when you're in that good neutral alignment, then everything's working as it should. So I'm glad that was helpful, Sene. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me in the comment box. And if you're watching the replay, please go ahead, leave some comments if you have any questions. Give me any feedback, good and bad, if you need to. If you have anything that you don't like in the squat tips, would love to hear from you either way. And if you have any suggestions for future blogs for my Mondays on the Mat, please let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And check out my website, epilatesonline.com. If you have any interest in Pilates, you can go over and have a look at my Core Fit Club membership. I often give a lot of these sort of tutorials in my membership. But hopefully see you soon. Follow me on Instagram and also YouTube if you want any more information as well. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.